Okay, boys, these are the help. I'm going to offer you with the chapter 18 exercise. I'll try to separate them into two parts, one part for the short question and the other for the long question. Let's finish this in 5 minutes or so. First question refers to the following diagram. We have this diagram with normal ASAD model. You can see YF is right here. That means, okay, the economy is not at its long-run equilibrium. We have a deflationary gap. Y1 is smaller than YF. Suppose E1 in the figure represents short run, right? Explain where there is an inflationary gap or deflationary gap. It is a deflationary gap because simply Y1 here is smaller than YF. So much for that. Using figure 1, explain why the inflationary deflationary will be eliminated. Eliminated, that means it is going to achieve long-run equilibrium without raising the price level if there's an increase in government subsidies on production. Well, with the subsidies on production, that means the cost of production is going to go down. And therefore, the SRAS curve is going to shift right. And then your SRAS curve shift right to SRAS1. All right, the price level won't increase. Instead, the price level will go down. Okay, so this is how it is done, right? Question 2, the government is considering the following two suggestions. Suggestion number 1, increasing the number of university places. Now, increasing the number of university places, the first thing, the government will have to spend money hiring people, buying all kinds of merchandise, whatever, capital investment. So government consumption expenditure is going to go up, your aggregate demand is going to go up, and therefore your real output will go up. All right, your aggregate output. Second suggestion, increasing the basic allowance of the salary tax. Well, in this case, your YD will go up. All right, people will probably do more private consumption expenditures. Your C will go up, and therefore your Y will, real output will also go up. So we have this brief summary when we read this question, but however, we haven't looked into the question yet. Evaluate which one is better. The above suggestions is in terms of aggregate output, effect on aggregate output. Now, the first suggestion, we have talked about this, your AD will increase, but say one more thing that we need to pay attention to is that you increase university places, the quantity and quality of labor is going to increase. And therefore, the LRAS full employment output level, okay, will increase in the long run. However, this is not going to happen with suggestion number 2. So I would say suggestion 1 is better in the sense that it will increase the long run potential output, and at the same time, it can increase the output in the short run. At the same time, the impact of suggestion 1 is more direct because $1 increase in government consumption expenditure leads to $1 increase in GDP or Y. However, you increase people's disposable income by $1, they will only spend a fraction of that $1 in consumption only. Okay. Number 3, an economy initially operates at the long-run equilibrium. Suppose the government increases expenditure on social welfare. Now, be very careful. The expenditure is on social welfare. That means it's a type of transfer payment. It won't go into G. It won't go into G. But say people receiving social welfare, they now have more disposable income. And therefore, private consumption expenditure goes up, and so will aggregate demand and real output Y. However, at the same time, it raises sales tax to finance an increase in expenditure. Now, sales tax increase the cost of production. cost of selling the product. Okay, and in that sense, your SRAS is going to go down, and your real aggregate output is going to go down. The question asks, under what condition? It's looking for the condition the output level will increase in the short run. Now, here, for the first part, your Y is going to increase. For the second part, you raise the sales tax, Y is going to go down. So it is pretty obvious if the increase in aggregate demand is greater than the drop in SRAS, your output level will increase. So you need to draw the diagrams shifting the SRAS and the AD curve. There's no need for the long run AS because it's not looking for a long run solution. Okay. Number 4, suppose an economy is initially operated at long run equilibrium with the aid of separate diagrams. Explain the effects of the following events on the price level and output level. So they are looking for both variables in the long run. Number 1, increase the government spending on infrastructures. Now, so the first thing, immediate effect will be the government consumption expenditure going up, your aggregate demand going up and shifting to the right. And because it is on infrastructure, so the production capacity of the economy increases, and therefore your LRAS is going to go up and shifting right. But do not stop here because it's asking for the price level and the output level. Output level will definitely increase because a shifting of the AD curve to the right will increase your aggregate output. And LRAS shifting to the right also increase your full employment output level. But the price, well, it's kind of uncertain because the general price level will increase from an increase in aggregate demand. But say when you have your LRAS shifting to the right, the general price level is going to go down. So it depends on the magnitude of change. All right. B part, a reduction in the profit tax rate. Profit tax rate dropped. Return to investment increase. Firms have more incentive to invest, and therefore you have more growth investment. The aggregate demand curve and the aggregate output will increase. All right, but now, unless all the investment is used to build up capital goods, or else we can say for sure that the production capacity will increase. So in that sense, it is more likely a shifting of the AD curve only, and there will be no change in the LRAS. Your price levels goes up because of an increase in AD. So your short run, your aggregate output will also increase. Okay. Now, last one, this is the DSE, DRQ question. All right, so what do we need to look at? British politician, low-skilled EU workers should be required to apply for a visa. That means the cost of working in Britain will increase. That means less people will be willing to work in UK. British firm owners here on this side, the new visa requirements for EU workers affect most of the firms in the British economy. That is exactly what's happening right now. Because of the visa, if you want people to work in your country, that means UK, you have to pay extra to attract them to come. They have to compensate for their labor or the visa cost. And therefore, the cost of labor is going to go up. Your SRAS is going to go down. Global investors here, uncertainty in Britain increase the risk of investment projects. Therefore, less people will be willing to invest in Britain. The gross investment will drop, and therefore your AD will drop. And finally, EU official British citizens may require a visa to visit or work in the EU countries. That means it is kind of a retaliation. If you want to work in EU countries, you have to apply for a visa as well, and that increases the cost of working or visiting EU countries. And that means less workers will go to other European Union nations to work. Okay, A part referring to the view of the British politicians, which is here, explain how labor mobility of the low-skilled workers would be affected. Now, it didn't state clearly which mobility. So the markets will expect you to pinpoint exactly which mobility, and that has to be geographical mobility. It has nothing to do about changing of jobs. Geographical mobility is going to drop because the cost of moving or working in UK increase because of the visa requirement. So that's it. The visa requirement increased the cost of cost of working in Britain, and therefore the geographical mobility will go down. Part B, referring to the views of the British firm owners and global investors, discuss the effects of aggregate output in the short run with the aid of a diagram. Okay, let's take a look at the firm owners over here. As I've said, say the cost of hiring labor goes up, and therefore your SRAS is going to go down and shift to the left. All right, so in your diagram, your SRAS curve is going to shift left. And at the same time, you have a drop in gross investment. That means your AD curve is going to shift left as well. And therefore, your aggregate output in the short run is definitely going to go down. Well, the price level, okay, SRAS goes down, price level should go up. AD shifting to the left, the price level goes down. So one goes up, one goes down. And okay, sorry, just the aggregate output, no need to deal with the price level. Part C, referring to the view of EU officials, which two components of the current accounts in BOP may be affected. Well, we haven't covered BOP yet, but well, I can say give you say introduction to it. In visible trade account, there will be less imports of services because less British will go to EU countries for a visit. Okay, so less tourists going from Britain to EU. That means less import of service. On the other hand, we have less factor income since less people will work in EU countries. Well, the amount of factor income will definitely drop. So much for that. Okay, let's stop here and then I'll go to the long question.